This year's NFL draft is anticipating a high number of defensive linemen to be picked in the first round, and I'm joined by our NFL experts, Drew Gentry and Ennis Warlick, to break down the possible picks. So before we get started, guys, we're going to talk about our first pick, Quinnen Williams. Matt, what you got?
Quinnen Williams from the University of Alabama ran a 4.83 40-yard dash, had a 30.5-inch vertical jump, and a 112-inch broad jump at the combine. He was an All-American, first-team All-SEC, and won the Outland Trophy for the best college football interior lineman in the nation. Andrew, back to you.
So, Ennis, where do you think Quinnen Williams is going to end up?
God, I hope he goes to the Oakland Raiders. I'm sorry. That might be just wishful thinking, but look at it like this. Now, a lot of people that followed the Oakland Raiders in the last draft know that they drafted P.J. Hall and Mo Hurst for that interior lineman spot. But they're so bad in the pass rush. They need a pass rush. And whether it's coming from the interior or the outside, they need it bad. Quinnen Williams, a beast of an athlete. I think he's the most consistent linebacker as far as his production last year. Just a great get-off, a great player.
I agree. I do think Oakland's going to fit it. One, he fits their personality
Absolutely.
that they want in Oakland. They want kind of that bad boy mentality. He's just so aggressive. You saw that in the playoffs for college football. But also, the last time they drafted a defensive lineman in the first round was 2003 with Tyler Brayton. Brayton only played 5 years with Oakland, so they have a little bit of a past, and they need to get back on track. And that defense needs help.
And the other thing that I like about Quinnen Williams is that he fills that need in run defense, and that he can fill up gaps and he can just sit there and force them and funnel them into the inside. But what he also does is, again, he provides that pass rush. Great production, rushing the passer last year. He's a great fit for this Oakland Raider team. I really hope they get him.
So we're going to move on to Ohio State's Nick Bosa. Matt?
Nick Bosa from the Ohio State University ran a 4.79 40 at the combine, put up 29 reps on the bench press, and had a 33.5-inch vertical jump. 2 years ago, he was the Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year. However, he only played in 3 games this season. Andrew, back to you.
So, Drew, where's Bosa going to end up?
Bosa's going to San Francisco. He's going to be on the West Coast with his brother.
Yeah.
They're just going to live it up down in Cali. You know how that goes. But one thing about San Francisco is they've wasted 3 first-round draft picks on defensive linemen in 2015, 16, and 17.
Absolutely.
They learned from their mistakes from drafting Pac-12 defensive linemen, and they went all the way across back over to the East Coast.
Yep.
And they learned that those boys play different. And I think Nick Bosa, if he goes there, he changes that defensive front in such a strong way because he's so just overpowering. He's fast. He has great moves, great feet. He'll swim move anybody, and he'll get past, and he's going to hurt a quarterback.
I've got to agree with that assessment. I think he's going to go to San Francisco, and I think he's going to be a great spot. You think about what their pass rush is right now. They have Solomon Thomas, who was abysmal last year, but you have also DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead to pair with him as well. And then they went out and got Dee Ford also. So Nick Bosa, a great player. Of course, only played 3 games. A little bit of a red flag there. But what I like about Bosa is exactly he's a beast, and he showed you what he could do in those 3 games. And I think he might be better than his brother.
So do you guys think this would be San Francisco's strongest defensive line in a while if they drafted Bosa, or?
Oh, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. I mean,
Do you think you put him in contention with the Rams in the West?
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Wild card, maybe?
Garoppolo still has to prove himself first off. Garoppolo's got to prove himself and stay healthy for a season. And their defense has a lot more work to be done than just one position. And
right.
a rookie can impact the game, but one position.
They still have a little bit of kinks to work out in that linebacking core and also the secondary, but I think they're going to be well on the way if they get somebody like Nick Bosa.
All right, final defensive lineman of this block, Ed Oliver, Houston. Matt.
Ed Oliver from the University of Houston, Texas native, put up 32 reps on the bench press at the combine, a 36-inch vertical jump, and a 120-inch broad jump. He did not run the 40. He's a 3-time first-team All-American, won the Outland Trophy in 2017, and in May 2018, Todd Racey projected him to be the first overall pick in this year's draft. Andrew, back to you.
Ennis, where's Ed Oliver going?
So the funny thing about Ed Oliver is that if you were looking at mock drafts, way too early mock drafts, I should say, in December, January, people were saying that Oliver was going to be the #1 pick. Then you look at mock drafts about in March, April. You're looking at him sliding all the way down, possibly out of the first round. Now we're getting buzzed that he's back in the top 5. So I'm going to have to go with him going to the New York Jets. He could fit in a lot of different areas, but I think that the New York Jets need him. The New York Jets really heralded themselves on just that pass rush and just that D line a few years ago with Leonard Williams, paired with Muhammad
Looking
Wilkerson.
just as good this year, potentially.
Exactly,
A lot of
and you know, Ed Oliver, I think, is again a very polarizing prospect. Of course, had that injury history, and of course is a little bit undersized. But look, if you watch his tape, he's so agile, he's so athletic. Really does what you need him to do at a defensive tackle spot, and I think he's going to fit well.
I'm going to disagree. I think he is going to end up in Tampa Bay.
Really?
Alongside Vita Vea and Gerald McCoy.
Wow.
That defensive line would be phenomenal, and that's the one missing piece. If you have two predominant pass rushers in Vea and McCoy, and then you throw in Oliver, how athletic does that front become? Also, McCoy drafted in 2010. Last time a first-round draft pick by the Bucks was a defensive lineman. See how that has worked out. The one before that was Warren Sapp in 1995. So they have a history of drafting these linemen and developing them into something. Even if they do go somewhere else and play, I think that Oliver in Tampa Bay is, along with the new coaching staff, is going to be a lot different.
So I'm going to have to respectively disagree with Drew here.
All right,
and there's a
bring it
reason
on.
why. So look, as he said, Vita Vea was drafted just last year. Was injured a good portion of the season, but when he played very well. Now, why would you put him next to Gerald McCoy, next to Vita Vea, if you've already attempted to trade Gerald McCoy? Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to take him because he's getting older. Nobody wants to give the assets needed to take him. I don't think they really need him. I just don't.
See, but if you're trying to get rid of McCoy, also he'll still teach somebody underneath him. He's not that kind of guy. He wants to help leadership, but he just wants out, or people want him out.
The other thing that you have to look at is, look, Tampa Bay has some holes on their defense. So if they're looking at best player available, I think that makes sense. But they need linebacking. If Devin White's still on the board, somebody in the secondary,
I was just going to say,
why.
Ennis, what do you think about Devin White for Tampa potentially, or
I
the
think
Jets?
that would be a potential game changer. If you look at what Mel Kiper said, this man could be a Ray Lewis type player.
A Ray Lewis type player.
A Ray Lewis type player. Now, I don't know if I'd go that far, but he is somebody that can change the locker room, gets all over the field. I think he reminds me a little bit of Roquan.
Another quick
Smith
question, though. Do you think if the Jets pulled through with Ed Oliver, they could have one of the best, if not the best, front seven in the league?
I don't think they'd have the best front seven, but
or
I think
defense in general.
Look, they're on their way. I will say that they are on their way.
Might have been a little bit too hot of a take.
They have this offseason the Jets have done phenomenally, and if they draft well, they have a potential chance to take over the AFC East in the next couple of years.
In due time.
In about 2 or 3 years, until Brady actually falls off.
That I can agree with.
A lot left to go, but that's all the time we have left for the big boys. When we come back, Matt and the rest of our experts will discuss the top QBs in the draft.